Hey guys, welcome back. So for this one, we are covering the full story of Death of the Venomverse, which in a lot of ways is the conclusion to the journey that the Carnage symbiote started after Extreme Carnage, when him and Cletus Cassidy went their separate ways. And for anyone who's jumping in here, I got a number of links in the description, so you can choose how far back you want to go to get caught up, whether that be King in Black or Extreme Carnage, Carnage Volume 3, Web of Carnage One-Shot, Extreme Venomverse. It's all there, because there's a lot that builds up to this point, and a ton of payoffs in this 5-issue series, so make sure you don't miss out. And with that said, if you're new to the channel, be sure to subscribe to catch the spills every week, and don't forget to hit that bell up top to get all notifications so we can squat up in the comments for the first hour. Alright, so jumping into this one, we continue after the events of Extreme Venomverse, where we saw Carnage hunting down Venoms from across the multiverse after parting ways with Detective Shade, because we find him here killing this Venom with all blood and absorbing his symbiote, but along the way we've learned that Carnage isn't hunting down all of these Venoms to absorb them. That plan stopped back in Web of Carnage, and we'll talk more about that through the course of this. Cause next, when we head over to Anne Wang, the Agent Venom from Earth 1051, who's been recruiting Venoms from different worlds to fight back, she's now come to the point where she's only finding a trail of bodies. And on this world, the body they find is a dead Venom Rocket Raccoon, which right away makes me think of a video I did a while back, like 6 years ago, when we talked about Flash Thompson's time with the Guardians of the Galaxy, when the Venom symbiote was going out of control and jumping from one Guardian to the next, which at the time gave us Venom Groot, or Venom Drax, and Venom Rocket Raccoon. And now seeing this poor little fella just reminds me of that, cause there's been others since, but that's just the first one that comes to mind. And also, this is a bit of an example of what I was talking about, with Carnage just killing this Venom Rocket and moving on, cause right now Andy and Virus have visited 12 different realities, only to find 12 different Venoms dead, and no sign of Carnage slowing down. And we see some of this play out, as we're shown a number of different Venoms who Carnage has hunted down across the multiverse, like this version of Laura Kinney, who Anne and Virus find, who's already been taken down, which causes them to speculate, because they still don't know what exactly Carnage is after, or what he's up to, because he's always been a killer, but this time it's different because he seems more intentional and more focused with the way that he's moving from one world to the next. And it's here when they notice that Laura Kinney's symbiote codex is gone completely, which supports their lead theory of Carnage preparing to fight someone, but as it stands, they're not yet sure who that could be. And on another Earth, they find that Carnage fought the Venom Ant-Man of this world, as they arrive in the aftermath of their fight. And I'll admit, with us getting glimpses of how that fight went down, because the evidence they're finding is pretty much telling the story to them and showing these flashbacks, but with seeing how this played out, it has me thinking that I wouldn't have minded if Extreme Venomverse would have taken its time a little bit more prior to Death of the Venomverse and given us a few more of these anthology stories, because this Venom Ant-Man never truly had his chance to shine. But nonetheless, with Carnage taking this Ant-Man Venom's codex, he has what he wants from this world, so they know that he's not coming back. And though they haven't figured out how exactly Carnage is jumping from one Earth to the next, Virus is able to follow the multi-dimensional footprints that Carnage is leaving behind, which creates this race for them to catch up to Carnage. And with Virus estimating that Carnage is about 2 worlds ahead, they gotta get moving. Because when we jump over to Carnage at the world he's on now, he set his sights on a variant of Andy Benton, who on this world is still like your Mania version of Andy. And as soon as he sees her, he knows that he wants to take her Hellmark, because that's a power that he can make use of. Because again, like we talked about in Web of Venom, Carnage stopped absorbing any and every Venom for his initial reasons, which at first was the hope of other symbiotes following him like they do Eddie. But after his encounter with Moreland, Carnage decided that he's just gonna get even more powerful. So eventually other symbiotes will follow him when they realize that he is the strongest. But as Carnage is ripping the Hellmark out of Andy's chest, he's blasted in the back by Agent Venom and Wayne, while Virus swoops in to grab Andy, which for a moment has this world's Andy Benton thinking that her Agent Venom, Flash Thompson, who's been long gone for some time on this world. So Anne shows her face while letting Andy know that she's the Agent Venom from another reality, and her friends have come here to stop Carnage. But as it turns out, this world never had a Carnage, which is a detail that plays into his favor shortly, because when Agent Venom meets Andy down on the street, they do this so that Carnage will follow, so they can set up a kill box with Agent Spider-Man, Agent Deadpool, and Agent Hawkeye, who we haven't seen since Venom Beyond. It's been a minute. But even with them getting the drop on Carnage, he just wrecks these guys, even with them having the element of surprise. And it's right here where the benefit of this world not having a Carnage kicks in, because when Mania sees these guys getting destroyed, she jumps in to help, and in just a matter of seconds, Carnage kills her and absorbs her powers. And it's like, man, if she only knew how dangerous an OEM Carnage was, she might have been a bit more careful here. But unfortunately, with her jumping the gun, it cost her life, and now Carnage has the Hellmark, which gives him the ability to conjure hellfire, as well as summon the monsters of evil and control lower tier demons, while also giving him full immunity to fire, which now has become more of his focus in his hunt for Venoms, because Carnage wants to eliminate as many of his weaknesses as he can. But with him first trying to take out Agent Venom and the others, Virus hits him with the Sonics, allowing them to make their escape, which just gives Carnage another reminder of something else he needs to work on. And when they regroup with the others, we're shown the Eddie Brock Spider-Man Venom again, Samurai Venom, Black Cat, amongst a few of the Venoms that we were introduced to in Extreme Venomverse. And now Anne realizes that they can't just hit Carnage and run, they've got to go at him hard, because from here he's only getting stronger, so they got to get back out there soon. Hit him fast and do it together, because Carnage is just going to find other symbiotes with more power, allowing him to get even stronger over time. And we see this continue when we find Carnage on the next world, going after a symbiote Electro and taking his power, where in this case, once again, Carnage is looking to eliminate a weakness, because he even admits that he thought he was going to die in the process of taking this power, and even after. But as soon as it takes hold, he's like, yeah, that was worth it. And just moments after Carnage kills Symbiote Electro, we find out that Symbiote Electro was part of the Symbiote Six, because as soon as Carnage turns around, the other 5 are there, and they want payback for the dead homie. And what's wild is that as soon as they attack Carnage, the disrespect that he dishes out is so real, because he tells Rhino and Kraven that he doesn't want to absorb their powers because they're totally useless to him. And when Symbiote Doc Ock tells him, like, you pick a battle with one of the Symbiote 6, you pick a battle with all of us. And Carnage is like, yeah, I believe you mean the Symbiote 5. And in a way, it feels like the same way that Peter cracks jokes in a fight, Carnage is just gonna roast these guys. And I really wouldn't mind that becoming the norm for Carnage, because in the recent years, he's been telling people about themselves, and it's been hilarious. But while he's fighting the other members of the Symbiote 6, Carnage puts that Hellmark to use by doing a little test and summoning the monsters of evil, which in a way feels like he's testing out what he saw 616 Andy Benton do in the Web of Venom Funeral Pyre one-shot, because now that he has the Hellmark on a different Earth, there's a good chance that results may vary. But as it turns out from the looks of things, it's nearly 1-to-1, and as soon as the monsters of evil show up, they start tearing into these guys. But right away, Agent Venom and her crew show up, catching Carnage off guard and throwing everything at him, which then allows the Symbiote 6 to regain the upper hand, with Symbiote Ock grabbing Carnage from behind and Kraven leaping in with his spear. But Carnage is just like, nah, this is not how I die, as he flames Kraven with the Hellmark, decapitates Symbiote Ock, and impales the rest of these guys, including a version of Dylan, who was a part of their team. But also we find out relatively quickly that this Dylan wasn't Anne Wang, Agent Venom's son, but rather he was a Dylan who joined the team along the way, which for Agent Venom, for her it still hurts. So for a moment she gets emotional, she goes after Carnage, and when Virus hits Carnage with the Sonics again, this time Carnage leaves. And for a moment when Virus is trying to comfort Agent Venom, he starts to say he wasn't your Dylan, but she just stops him mid-sentence, cause for her it hurts to lose any of these Venoms. And also we get a moment here where Rhino from the Symbiote 6, he tells Agent Venom that he wants to join her and the others, cause he wants to pay back Carnage for killing his friends, which I mean, there's a lot of that going around these days. So from here, when we go to the next Earth that Carnage is at, he's pissed, because after all this power he's accumulated, he's still vulnerable to Sonics, and it's frustrating. So he's knocking over boxes, he's big mad. So now he's making sure that that's the next weakness he's getting rid of, which is why now on this Earth, he's going after Chaos Engine, who's currently in the middle of a fight with Shriek. And you can tell just from the exchange between these two that Chaos Engine killed the Carnage of this world, and ever since, Shriek has more or less been trying to get her revenge for the death of her deceased lover. But while Carnage is going after Chaos Engine, Agent Venom and the Symbiote Squad show up, with Rhino impaling Carnage in the back, which causes him to admit if he actually had a host inside, that would have done some damage, which now only proves to Carnage even more that having a host would have just been another weakness, because usually for a symbiote, having a host increases their power. But at this point, with all the abilities that Carnage has collected, as well as his weapon All Blood, he only sees it as something that'll slow him down, which so far seems to be the case. Like, it seems like he's right. But we'll only truly know when this is all completely over. But in the middle of this brawl, Carnage notices that Virus is the one who's transporting them in and out of here. So he makes a beeline straight for the guy. But Agent Venom just says not today, and she's able to get Carnage off of Virus just long enough for the whole team to fall back and get Chaos Engine out of there to keep him away from Carnage and stop him from taking his power. But right after they leave, Shriek walks up to Carnage, talking to him like, "Oh baby, you're back with a vengeance." Cause she still thinks that he's her Cletus, but he's not even a Cletus for that matter. So he tells her he's about to go and track down Chaos Engine because he has sonic powers and that's rare among symbiotes. So she tells him, "Who needs him? We're a team. I got all the sonic powers you need." So Carnage takes a closer look and he's like, you are close to the Carnage of this world. Intimate. I detect traces of the Codex embedded in your cells. And after that, he just takes the sonic immunity from Shriek. Cause at some point Carnage looked at her and said, "Oh, you a real Shriek, ain't you? Let me get that." And now he doesn't even need Chaos Engine. So from here, Carnage just goes on to the next victim. And meanwhile on Earth 1051, at the Venom safe house, where we find Agent Venom talking to Virus about how Carnage is absorbing the powers of these different Venoms and making them his own. The truth is, with there being infinite worlds out there in the multiverse, there are infinite Venoms, with some possessing powers that they can't even comprehend. So if they want to stop Carnage, they have to take him by surprise. And it's gotta be with something that he's not expecting. So she suggests that they bring some anti-venom to level the playing field by bringing in Silence, the Andy Benton from Earth 616, to silence Carnage once and for all. And meanwhile, when we go back to Carnage, he's now going after what's one of my favorites as far as his choices of victims, and that's the Venom Man-Thing. Cause whatever knows fear is gonna burn at the Man-Thing's touch. So if you're fighting a bunch of Venoms who are already afraid of you, why not? Cause I mean, it sounds like it's gonna be pretty useful if you ask me. Cause like Carnage said before, there's not too many symbiotes out there who are immune to fire. And the Hellfire requires a conscious effort to summon it. So Carnage just destroys this Venom Man-Thing and takes his power. Which from here takes us over to the next Earth, where in this universe, you have both Earth and Asgard that have both merged together after their version of War of the Realms. And as soon as they get into it, Chaos Engine tries to start with Sonics, but Carnage doesn't even flinch. So Andy and the other Anti-Venoms, they go for Carnage next, but they're not even able to get close to him because he just raises the Hellfire and impales Flash Thompson with the All Blood. And that's really just him getting started, because next he cracks open Virus, revealing that inside this whole time it's been Earth 1051 Dylan, Agent Venom and Wang's son. And we already know from what happened to the other Dylan that Carnage wouldn't bat an eye before taking this kid out. So she goes off telling Carnage to get back, and this is where the Anti-Venoms see their opportunity to attack Carnage. So they start with Anti-Carnage, but as soon as they do, this guy burns at the touch, which again is because Carnage got the Venom Man-Thing abilities going on, which is a clutch move for when he's caught off guard. But when Carnage absorbs the Anti-Carnage, it causes all of the Venoms that he had killed and absorbed to come rushing out at one time, which from here takes us into some new territory, because when they come out, we find that they're all turned into Anti-Carnage symbiotes, and they took their powers back with them as well. And from here, they start going after Carnage, one at a time, one after the other, while over on the side, Agent Venom, she's trying to tell Dylan to get his transporter fixed and get himself out of there. But he's just like, "No mom, I can get us all out." So he just keeps on tinkering. Meanwhile, with the Anti-Carnages attacking Carnage, the others step in like Dreamstone Venom, Chaos Engine, and Venom Rhino, and they all get Carnage weakened to the point where he's more or less just backed into the corner. Or so it would seem, because before they can bat an eye, he's back. And Anti-Carnage tells him that he shouldn't have tried to heal him. That was a mistake, because he was trying to make up for his past sins and heal Carnage as a form of redemption on some personal stuff, but he blew it. So he tries to go for the kill now, but at this point it's just too late. And right after him, Dreamstone Venom runs up just to get his head cut off. And it's kind of like, man, I thought he was gonna do something. And I mean, in a way he kind of does, because this only kills the host. And while Carnage is occupied with the Anti-Carnage mania, the Dreamstone Venom symbiote makes its way over to the Eddie Brock Spider-Man Venom, adding itself to his own symbiote, which now has just got this guy juiced up. And with them having the addition of the Dreamstone Venom symbiote, he doesn't really put it to use beyond just turning into your traditional Venom, who, don't take me wrong, he's a lot stronger than Carnage right here, and it shows. But based on what we saw during War of the Realms, this Eddie could have emulated a different power. He could have shared the power, much like we saw with 616 Eddie. But even still, I don't count it against this guy because he really just didn't have the time. Because after getting off to a really good start, Carnage reaches out, impaling all of the Anti-Carnages who had got away for a brief moment, and he takes them all back, and their power, while telling them that he's just reclaiming what's already his, what he rightfully won. His weapons, his armor, his trophies. And right after, when Anti-Venom goes for it, Carnage is just like, and he uses the antibodies to stop Anti-Venom. And he takes him down too. And it now just has Agent Venom and everybody else like, okay, that's what now? He's reabsorbed all the Anti-Carnages, he's got his powers back, he's immune to the Sonics, fire's not gonna do nothing. So not only did they work their way back to square one, but they somehow managed to get a little worse than that. And at this point, with no clue whatsoever of what to do next, they're all more or less just sitting here waiting to die. But fortunately, Dylan gets his transporter working just in time to get the last few of them out of there, just before Carnage took out the rest of them. And right after they leave, Carnage is like, there's only one step left. One step before his ultimate ascension. Because from here, he makes his way to another universe, where at this time they are currently in the conclusion of the King in Black. And as soon as Carnage gets there, he arrives in the moment where the Silver Surfer meets the Enigma Force, and Carnage just kills the Surfer and takes it, absorbing both the Enigma Force and the Surfer's powers, which is just a wild entrance, let's make that clear. And as this Null is descending from above the heroes here and saying how he's looking for a human named Brock, only for Carnage to pop out and tell him that Brock couldn't make it. Because remember, during King in Black, Eddie Brock was in the ICU until the Enigma Force came to him. So assuming that Eddie is kind of in the same state here, Carnage just tells Null that he wouldn't want to see Eddie in the miserable state that he's in anyway. But also with Carnage showing up, you got the heroes here, like Cyclops, Clea Strange, Sorcerer Supreme, Captain America, Thor, Jean Grey, and Magneto. They're watching this like, is that Carnage? But they don't put too much of any thought into it, because Magneto's just like an enemy of my enemy, and Thor just cuts him off like an enemy of my enemy is a foe we can destroy later. Because at the moment they got Null and his dragons and a lot more going on. But right now, with Carnage taking the fight to Null, Null immediately recognizes that Carnage is not from this reality, and he calls him out on it, and Carnage doesn't shy away from that. But he also tells Null, if I cannot destroy you, then what chance do I have against the King in Black? Which right there has Null like, I am the King in Black, and he cuts Carnage in half. But Carnage just comes back together because no one's in there, which once again is something that's proving to be working for him, for now. And he tells Null that he's not the King in Black, not on his world, not on the world that matters. Which again pisses off Null, so he knocks Carnage back. And as Carnage is getting up, Thor is telling the other heroes to strike now while they can, so they can turn the tide. Magneto's lifting all kind of junk and hurling it at Null. And Clea, the Sorcerer Supreme, she adds energy from the Dark Dimension to Cyclops' Optic Blast, while Jean uses telekinesis to control and direct it. And it's a really cool combination. But while Carnage is getting up, Captain America approaches him, telling him, get on your feet, soldier. Thanks to you, we've got Null on the defense. We need you. We can take him down. Like he's really giving Carnage that Captain America speech, you know? So Cap goes on to say Avengers, and Carnage pushes his ribs out his back. But the funny part is that he listened to the speech for a little bit. Like he was sitting there like, yeah, do what? Okay. Before just ending the guy. And right after that, Carnage and Null take out all the heroes before they can truly understand what's really going on here. And with it just being Carnage and Null, Null brings in his Grendel Celestials. So Carnage grows up to their size and he destroys them. And right after, he just comes back down to his regular size and goes after Null. Who at this point, no, he's kind of impressed because he tells Carnage it's a shame that he's gotta die because he'd rather him serve. And Carnage tells him he would say the same for Null, but Null is flesh and flesh is weak. But also at this time, Agent Venom and the others, they arrive. And they open up the portal walking in like, what we miss? Cause as soon as they get there, for the most part, they're preoccupied by Null's dragons. But Agent Venom tries to get them to focus on Null so they can grab him and just get out of there. But again, there are just so many of these dragons that their window of opportunity is getting short. So Agent Venom knocks back Carnage and she gets Venom Rhino to grab Null so Dylan can transport them out of there. But Dylan's controls are still damaged from Carnage's last attack, and before you know it, Rhino can't hold Null any longer as Null breaks free, killing Venom Rhino. And in this moment where it seems like Agent Venom has just got Carnage pinned, as it turns out he was just there waiting for the opportunity to kill Null as he creeps up from behind, thrusting all blood through Null's back and out his chest, taking his throne as the King in Black, raising all blood above his head with hellfire rising behind him, kinda like Travis Scott. And after this, one of the other Eddies tries to run up saying, hey, you want an Eddie Brock? Here I am. But as we know, the only Eddie that Carnage wants is the Eddie Brock from Earth 616, cause to him, that's the final challenge. That's the championship. And right now, with Agent Venom knowing that this is over, they lost, she tells Dylan to send them all home so they can spend whatever time they got left with their loved ones. But instead, Dylan's just like, Mom, we can do this, Mom, just like you said. We just need a little more muscle. As he transports in a ton of other Venoms, including Major League Venom, Jeff the Landshark Venom, Sin Eater Venom, Necroco, Black Fang, Life Model Venom, just about every Venom we saw in Extreme Venomverse. Dylan brings them all here to get destroyed. And it's one of those moments where, like, if this was a movie, it'd be in slow motion with some sad music playing. Either that or something beautiful playing. I mean, it depends on the director. But I digress. Right now with Anne seeing this, she's telling Dylan, yo, send these dudes back. Right now, we gotta send them all back. But Dylan is just like, no, we can do this, just like you said. And she's just looking at him now like, is you seeing what I'm seeing? Cause Carnage is serving death like the kitchen's about to close and they don't want to throw none away. Get everyone out of here. And just like a scary movie where you're looking at the monster, but then you turn your head for a second and they're right behind you, Carnage does this to Dylan and he just wrecks the virus suit with him in it. And right now with the whole Venomverse trying to hold Carnage back, like these symbiotes can't hold me back. Anne uses the transporter on Dylan's gauntlet to get them all out of there. And after that, she just has this monologue where she's talking about how she was wrong and how this whole time she'd just been offering up Venoms like lambs to the slaughter, like sacrifices. And I mean, she's not wrong. But from here, going forward, the Carnage symbiote has done everything that he had planned to do to prepare for his final fight against Eddie Brock from Earth 616, which I imagine will take place in the Garden of Meridius, but we'll just have to wait and see. And so now real quick, I want to give a shout out to all the patrons. Thank you guys for all of your support. And for anyone who's new here, who wants more information on how to support the channel, I got a link below where you can go to patreon.com/Dopespill. But that'll do it for this one, guys. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. Don't forget to drop a like, and we'll do it again on the next one. Alright, later.